This is Richard Blade, the voice of the 80s and gay rock radio, and you're listening to the voice of 91 Reasons, Jeff Tucker. Totally awesome.
Geez, what does it always mean, this Junior?
That's his name. Henry Jones Jr.
Like Indiana.
We named the dog Indiana. That belongs in a museum.
So do you.
Man, oh man, look at the time. It is 10:15 or so, and it's Thursday night, March 31st. I'm hanging out by myself in the Cafe 80s. I haven't done a solo just me episode in a while. I look at the feed every once in a while and I go, you know, all these family episodes. We open loot crates and we go see movies and stuff. And sometimes I just just now I should probably go to bed. And I told Rachel, I said, well, I'm going out in the back to do a show. And she's like, you look like you're gonna fall apart. You look tired. And I go, I know, I am. I am very, very tired. You can probably hear it in my voice. The combination of the Boysenberry Festival at work combined with what we're gearing up for the next season. I'm busy all the time, and WonderCon was 3 days of work. Yes, it was fun work, which is the best kind of work, but it was still work. There's no it's weird to think I review movies on this show, and yet very rarely do I sit down and actually I have to make myself watch movies these days. Batman versus Superman was I'm going to go to the movies and not give myself a choice, because if you do it at home, there's a million distractions. God, you reach the point where, as somebody who creates content, and that's such a saying that I make shows, I understand completely the need in my world for social media, promoting episodes, finding guests, topics, things people are talking about. But personally, I've never checked in anywhere. My phone will ding and it's my wife checking me in somewhere, and I'm just how can I block you from doing that? I want to block my wife from checking me in places on Facebook, just because it creates another social media ding. Ding, Jeff's on social media, but I'm not. My social media thing is pictures I find that are funny, or links to my episodes or stuff like that. What happens? Here's what typical. I'll get agitated about something, and I will post on social media, and it'll start a conversation. And then, you know what? An hour or 2 hours later, I just delete the whole thing. I just get irritated. What is the mantra of this show? I'm just old. I don't understand. I don't get any kind of thrill from people liking my nonsense posts. I like feedback about shows. I like talking about, post Batman, Superman, and then we talk about the show in the thread down below. I like that. What I don't like is somebody will see something that reminds them of me, and then they'll put my name on it, and then suddenly I'm getting all these dings, from people about this and that, and it's just something innocuous like they just announced Alien Day on April 26th, which is so tenuous. The planet that they land on in Alien is LV 426. So 426 is Alien Day. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard of. But Reebok is going to re-release the Stomper shoe, which I knew about in '86 and could not get. And I saw one guy one time wearing them at a show. I've seen them one time on eBay, way more than I wanted to pay. So if I'm going to be able to, just like the Back to the Future shoes, go on 426 and buy the Reeboks from Aliens, look them up, they're pretty cool. I mean, you can't wear them. I'm look like a dork wearing them around. but I always want them, you know. I have a Marty McFly 2015 jacket I've never worn. Where am I going to wear that? Jeff, you could wear that to a convention. Why do I want to wear a costume? I don't need that kind of attention. Oh, are you sure, Jeff? Because you're sitting here talking on your own podcast show. Listen, that's different, Conscience. That's totally different what you're talking about. And here I am arguing with myself, Berg style. You know? And the funny part is the whole catalyst behind this episode was something that happened on Facebook. You know? What was it? 10 days ago or so that Disney announced that they're gonna have another Indiana Jones movie. 2018, in time for Harrison Ford's 95th birthday or something. And everybody, Disney makes this announcement, which, let's face it, was not a surprise. The surprise is that it's Harrison Ford putting the fedora on one more time. But like we knew this was coming, you know. Oh, Disney's going to make an Indiana Jones movie. Really? What a shock. Now, if they said they were going to make a Howard the Duck movie, then I'm shocked. You know, if they say they're going to remake Willow, I am on the floor. But Indiana Jones, that's a given. But the whole internet world, Twitter and Facebook and whatever social platform you're on, they're just a buzz. Indiana Jones is back, you know? And one of my really good friends got really excited about it, and they started including me on all these tweets, and I simply put yawn. And they were shocked. And you know what? I see where they were shocked, because I'm a movie guy. Arguably, in the years that have passed since Return of the Jedi, I hold Raiders of the Lost Ark in higher esteem than Return of the Jedi or Star Wars. It's about even with Empire Strikes Back as far as the finest genre movies ever made. Thank you, Back to the Future is right there. So, you know, I should be thrilled, right? They're going to continue the adventures of Indiana Jones, but I just put yawn. And people were shocked. How can that be? And a friend wrote a really nicely done essay about what, you know, Indiana Jones means to him and how it's great to be back and how all the naysayers were this and that. And I'm not here to tear that apart. I mean, if you're happy about there being an Indiana Jones movie, God bless you. You know, I want to be with you. I want to stand next to you excited about Indiana Jones, but I just can't. We've already done that dance. You know, you can't go home again. And everything they've done with the Indiana Jones franchise since Memorial Day 1989 has been a letdown. A creative failure. The Young Indiana Jones Chronicles, terrible. Preachy, celebrity, historical figure, Forrest Gump visit of the week. Here's Indiana Jones with Teddy Roosevelt. Here's Indiana Jones with Pancho Villa. Here's this and that. Oh, and here's Harrison Ford with a harmonica and an eye patch. They're not great. You know, I've not watched all of them. I can't. They're boring as hell. You know, they're preachy. They're preachy, and they're made to teach children about history in a way that's palatable. So, in that respect, they're noble attempts, but they're failures nonetheless. Throughout the 90s, they attempted again and again for Indiana Jones to be the star of his own video game. Now, other than a single game, there has never been a successful Indiana Jones video game. From Atari 2600 to PlayStation, 2? I think 2 was the last time we saw one. There might have been one for 3. I don't know for certain. It certainly didn't rattle the video game world. One exception, the Lego one, which is for kids. You know, as much fun as it is, it's still just blocks. And as far as game goes, listen, Indiana Jones and his adventures were tailor-made for the greatest video games of all time during the greatest period of games of all time, and yet no one ever cracked that nut. No one ever overlaid it on a Tomb Raider engine. No one ever figured out a way to make it exciting and to put you in the action of arguably the greatest action-adventure hero to ever grace the silver screen. This should have been a priority. This should have been a number one, top of the list. Let's get an Indiana Jones game franchise going, and yet, there is not. There is not. Zip. So what's our batting average? 0. TV, strikeout. Video games, strikeout. I've read some of the novels. There aren't that many. A bunch of them are choose-your-own-adventure, novelty novels for children. Strikeout. Comics? Now, comics fared a little better. And comics may be to blame why some of the Indiana Jones mainframe stuff is so bad, because the comics got there first. They had Dave Dorman covers. Dark Horse had good writers. He went to Atlantis. He found the Spear of Destiny. And they're not bad. They're still not great. I mean, it's not like you can point to them right next to, like, you don't go Dark Knight Returns, Watchmen, Crisis on Infinite Earths, Indiana Jones. Like, it just doesn't happen. Again, they're just novelties. And in one of them, Han Solo and Chewbacca crash the Falcon on an unknown planet, and it cuts to 2,000 years later, and Indiana Jones is finding the Falcon and the skeleton of Han and Chewie. Wah, 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 wah. Novelty, novelty, novelty. Where's the seriousness? Where's taking the character at his complete face value? Indiana Jones, man. On this program, we did a full, nearly, 2 hours on Indiana Jones and how great he is. Burst onto the screen, Raiders of the Lost Ark, one of the best cinematic debuts of all time, and still the gold standard for action movies. Incredibly well directed. You're never at a loss as to where the action is going on, what the geography of the characters are, what the motivation is. Never, ever, ever. You know, and we're not going to get into Raiders. Temple of Doom was a bit of a stumble because it's so dark, but it's still a damn good movie. Last Crusade, incredible return to form. Last Crusade. Figured out a way to show you where Indiana Jones came from, his origin. No, I'm talking about the train. I'm talking about his father. The person that molded him into the adventurer that he became. You know? And how does Last Crusade end? It ends with them riding off into the sunset, into cinematic history as one of the greatest creations of all time, all capsulated in the 1980s. The 80s were great to Indy. You know, he had a couple of toy lines, some mail-aways, this and that, you know. Pepsi had some sort of promotion for Last Crusade. And Indiana Jones lay dormant for a long time, and not for lack of trying. There were plenty of scripts written by very talented people. Frank Darabont of Shawshank Redemption, M. Night Shyamalan, Chris Columbus, who wrote Goonies and Gremlins and Adventures in Babysitting and directed the first 2 Harry Potter. A lot of people took a crack at it, and they had a hard time. And you know what? On some of those scripts, sure. I can already hear you talking to the radio. I can already hear you talking to your smartphone. You can't discount George Lucas's meddling. Well, now that Lucas is out, we're going to make a great movie. Really? Is that what we're going to do? Now that George is gone, everything's got a clear runway for success. And that's not always the case. I'm the guy that didn't really jump out of his seat for Force Awakens. You know, I thought it was good. It wasn't great. It was a good remake with some interesting new parts, but it was not a completely new picture. And if they're going to take Indiana Jones and remake Raiders of the Lost Ark, hey, I'm not interested. You have to push yourself, go in new directions, try new things. And a lot of those writers that I just mentioned, when they were hired by Lucas himself to write a script, they were given free rein. Write whatever you want. Sure, Lucas had this dumb idea about a haunted castle script. But a lot of the writers were left to their own devices. And some of the stuff they came up with was terrible. In one of them, Indiana Jones hangs out with a talking monkey. In one of them, he hangs out with an alien. Indiana Jones and the saucer men from Mars. Indiana Jones and the flesh-eating ants or whatever it is. There were a lot of bad ideas. And what we got in Crystal Skull was terrible. And this is, think about this, folks. Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. We're not going to dissect the movie. That's not what we're here for. We're going to instead dissect the opportunity that they had. Star Wars had ended. 2005, Revenge of the Sith is out. 2007, we get word that Indiana Jones is coming back next summer. This is everything we could have wanted. Harrison Ford is back. Karen Allen is back as Marion Ravenwood, the one woman that we always wanted to see Indiana Jones end up with. You know? So right off the bat, we were excited. Remember the MTV Awards? And they showed the little clip of them like introducing Marion back into the fold. And we were welcome arms. We're ready. Yes. And then it kind of slips a little because now they're going to introduce Shia LaBeouf as someone who may or may not be Indiana Jones' son. And we knew right from the start that he was. You know, studios play that game. Oh, Benedict Cumberbatch is not playing Khan. Really? Are you sure? And such is not playing such and such. Oh, yeah. Why the games? Just tell us what the movie is. This misleading stuff. And there was one that was just that. I'm having trouble remembering what it was, where they played another game with us. No games. Just tell us who's in the movie, who's playing what. Originally, it was Natalie Portman as Indiana Jones' daughter. You know? And imagine what that could have been. What would that script have looked like? You know, we would have lost the Wild One, the Wild Bunch, or whatever it is, Marlon Brando sequence of him on the cycle, the leather jacket, the pompadour, the trick knife, the attitude. You know, father-daughter relationships are completely different than father-son relationships. And what we saw in Crystal Skull was a flip-flop of the Sean Connery, Indiana Jones relationship from Last Crusade, where Indy's now the father without a clue with this kid, you know? Which, you know, don't even get me started of, the kid shows up 19. So we never have to deal with any of the childhood anything. Indy's now a father to a full-grown kid. He's never had any, they're going to connect, wah. Movie trope. You know? So, I think Shia LaBeouf was the first indication that we've got cracks in it. To me, the biggest one was David Koepp as screenwriter. He's a hit-or-miss guy. This is the guy that wrote Lost World. Jurassic Park, The Lost World, is to me one of the worst big-budget movies ever made. Just because it made money doesn't make it good. You know, a lot of people, looked at the script for Lost World and put a big stamp on it. Stunk. approved for production, with all those plot holes and stupid sequences. Ian Malcolm's got a daughter. She's black. We're never going to explain it. We're never going to show the mom. You just have to deal with it. Okay, I guess. I'm not saying I'm racist or anything. I'm just saying it'd be nice to meet the mom so that we had a way to look at it. You know what I mean? Well, that's just the way it is. And she knows gymnastics. Okay. And she's going to drop kick a velociraptor through a wall. Oh, she is. And all the mistakes that they made. Oh, we're not going to make the same mistakes. No, you're making all new mistakes. He was referring to the script. And that ending in San Diego, talk about racism. The Asian people screaming Godzilla, running from the T-Rex. The T-Rex eating the dog. The T-Rex killing people and then locking itself below. So many and they're not problems that you have to think of remember, like any movie. Like I just saw Batman and Superman. You're in the zone, man. And then when you leave, you're like, oh, there was a problem there, and I'm not sure why that happened or that. That one for Lost World was in the theater. I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. How are they doing that? Why is it happening? And once you do that, you've lost the audience. Once the audience goes, whoa, you're breaking every movie rule that you've established up until now. Once you've done that, the audience is gone. And I checked out of Lost World early, Mr. Kiop. So Mr. Kiop was brought on board to write Crystal Skull. They had all the time in the world to write that movie. There was no rush. There was no time frame. They could have spent a year and a half on the script. They could have spent 10 years. What the hell happened? Because nobody listening to this show liked Crystal Skull. Oh, wait, I'm hearing one guy. Well, you're the one guy? Well, good for you, because I'm glad you enjoyed it, because I felt like I was being tortured. It's one of the worst big budget, mega franchise entries ever. It's terrible, schlocky filmmaking with a few good parts, But like I said about the prequels, a few good parts don't make a good movie. It must be a complete movie from start to finish. Because even a broken clock is right twice a day. So, we get the big announcement. Indiana Jones is back. And for all the reasons of Crystal Skull, and think about this, man. Think about this. Not only did we welcome Indiana Jones back to the big screen. Of course we did. He's always welcome, apparently. Not anymore, but he was. But the Hasbro toy line that launched was so massive because they said, whoa, wait a minute. We haven't done an Indiana Jones toy line since Raiders of the Lost Ark. Way back when we were Kenner. So what we'll do is, and they must have loved this, we'll make toys of Crystal Skull, Last Crusade, Temple of Doom, and Raiders of the Lost Ark. Oh my God, Chuck, that's brilliant. That's why we hired Chuck. Chuck, you hear that, guys? Chuck just said, we're not going to just make movie toys for Crystal Skull. We're going to make movie toys of all of Indiana Jones' adventures. Oh, Chuck, that corner office is yours, pal. So the toys start flowing in. Action figures, a playset of the Temple of Akator in a time when playsets were dwindling quite a bit. It would find itself re-released. Actually, Akator is the re-release. It's the re-release of the Revenge of the Sith Mustafar playset. But that doesn't matter, because a re-released, recolored playset is still a playset. We got a figure line from every movie with figures I never thought we'd see. Professor Henry Jones figure, or a Grail Knight, or a Mola Ram, Willie Scott. These were, Short Round. Never thought. There's a figure of Sopito, from the first film. You know what I mean? What's that guy's name? I can always remember his name. The guy who played Doc Ock, who's in the first movie. We got the Lost Wave at Comic-Con showed up with Indy in his tux and all the figures of Marion in her dress. Again, figures that was like, wow, this is the greatest. And we got the Desert Convoy truck, and we got the Buzz Cutter vehicle, and we got a motorcycle, and we got troop holders and all this great stuff, man. And it was fantastic. And what happened? Nobody bought them. Nobody bought them. You'd go to the store, and they'd have peg after peg of the Russian guys and Spalko and all these figures clogging. And eventually they all went on clearance. And I bought a bunch. And they even made the little kitty figures, the little Fisher-Price looking figures, right? And they had a mail away for each one. You could mail away for Indiana Jones on his horse. You could mail away for the crystal skull sitting in the throne, the skeleton. And you could mail away for a 12-inch scale Ark of the Covenant. Like, they went all out, man. This was one of the best toy launches of all time. And nobody bought. Some of us did, but not enough. Like they didn't hook the kids. The adult collectors are only going to get you so far on the toy aisle. You must get the kids to buy this crap, or your line is dead. And that's why Comic-Con got the quote-unquote lost wave of figures that nobody wanted. On a side note, did you know there was a figure made of Luke Skywalker burning Darth Vader's body? It's called the Funeral Pyre, and it was offered as an exclusive to any retailer that wanted it, and everybody said no. And as of this date, it has never been released. We've only seen a couple of photos of it. Because sometimes, even with the greatest movie franchise behind it, nobody wants the toys. And as sad as it is to say, the Indiana Jones toys did not sell well enough. Like, they didn't sell like everybody thought they were going to sell. They simply didn't. I can remember going to Walmart, and they had literally 100 figures on the pegs. So far, when they put them on the pegs, and as they get out to the end, they start to bow up. Every peg was bowed up because nobody wanted these things. When the toys come out and they start talking about the rare ones, and the rare ones are either the Uncle Milty Science Project ones or the 12-inch guy covered in large ants that finally showed up at Marshall's. Marshall's and Ross was where you got the hard-to-find Indiana Jones toys. Discount store. So what I'm saying is, Crystal Skull came at the right time, with all the right products, and it was a big stinkeroo. A big stinkeroo. And I would be hard-pressed if anybody can convince me that the next one's going to be totally different. It's not. It's not. And I want it to be. As a mega fan, my son's name is Austin, Indiana. Legally. I'm not sitting here praying that they make a piece of crap movie and then it bombs and I can come on here and go, well, I told you so. That's not it. If anything, I want to get on here and say, I was wrong. It's fantastic. But really, what are the chances? Harrison Ford, did you see him in Force Awakens? He's really old. It's okay to get old. It's okay to get old and stop making movies. You don't have to keep working. A lot of actors just bow out gracefully. What's with Harrison Ford? Oh, I know why he's in Force Awakens. I told you all that when he started making the talk show host rounds. I said he's so happy because, look, you know they're going to kill Han Solo. No, they're not. They are. Look how happy he is. So maybe they're going to kill Indiana Jones, and that's why he's here to, I'll be the guy. The guy who started it will be the guy that ended it, and I'll put my boom stamp on it, and we'll kill Indiana Jones. Is that what you want? It's not what I want. It's not what I wanted for Han Solo. In my imagination, Han Solo was always at the cockpit of the Millennium Falcon taking another run. He isn't sucker punched in the gut by his idiot son on a walkway. He's the captain of the Millennium Falcon, the ship that made the Kessel Run. So I don't need closure on my heroes. I don't need that. Here's what I don't need. I don't need the actors who play my heroes to get so old that the only possible way to wrap things up is to kill them off. How depressing is that? You think I want to go to an Indiana Jones movie where at the end he's holding whatever mystical item it is as he closes his eyes and smiles? No. I can do without that. Because in my imagination, Indiana Jones is always holding a torch, walking through traps looking for that glint of gold. That's what we want. We want the adventure to always continue. And I just ignore the events of Crystal Skull. I just ignore it because it's stupid. So if they're coming back one last time to wrap it up with a death, count me out. I'm good. Thanks, guys. Get somebody. You have my seat. All right, I'm going. Here's the other thing. What story are they even going to tell? Because there aren't a lot of religious artifacts left. Once you go after the Holy Grail, you've done it. Unless you're going to make one up. Now see, for my novel series, I just made them up. They sound plausible, but they're not real. They're not part of any lore. I totally made everything up. And George Lucas was always the one pushing them for stuff that people might have known. Like, I knew about the Crystal Skulls prior to the movie because I had those Time Life books all about supernatural phenomenon. Isn't that funny? I love those books. One had the pyramid on it, one had a crystal skull on it, one had a spaceship on it. So Lucas was the one always pushing them for those kinds of things. And I can hear you again. Oh, well, now that Lucas is out, they can really get down to business. Well, can they? Last I checked, Steven Spielberg was one of the most powerful directors on the planet. And I've seen some of the interviews on the Plinkett reviews where it looks as if Spielberg's being bullied by Lucas into doing these things. I get all that. I totally get it. Now that Lucas is out of the picture, they can make a good movie. But wait a minute. Wait. The last time Spielberg and Kiop made a movie, they made Jurassic Park: The Lost World. That's not a pedigree. That's not instilling me with any confidence, Doc. So don't tell me that the folks behind the scenes are what's going to make it great, because I'm not buying it. What was the last good Steven Spielberg movie? This is one of my gods. This is one of the gods that I pray to. I am firmly entrenched at the altar of Steven Spielberg, George Lucas, Michael Mann, John McTiernan, Quentin Tarantino. I mean, the list goes. I love movie directors. I know their style. I know what I'm going for and what I'm going to get into. But what was the last good Spielberg? I can't even remember it. Saving Private Ryan was 1998 or 97. Think about that, folks. That's 19 years ago. Has Steven Spielberg made a good movie? And don't give me Munich, because nobody saw Munich. I see you in the back going, oh, Jeff, Munich. Nobody saw Munich. The Terminal was trifle. Catch Me If You Can was just, it was all right. But it wasn't like, yeah, Spielberg, the one I remember, War of the Worlds had that cop-out ending with the son still being alive. So I don't know. The people behind the scenes are not the ones giving me any confidence that they're going to be able to successfully resuscitate Indiana Jones. And let me add another log to the fire. Let me add another one. Let me take a sip of water here. I'm watching a giant spider crawl up its web here in the Cafe 80s. I should go kill it, but I know that spiders provide a service by eating bugs, so I'm letting him go up into the rafters and leave me alone. There he goes. Oh, he's riding some pig on his web. Hey, that's not nice. Oh, okay. So anyways, here's some other log for the fire of the Indiana Jones debate. And you tell me what the solution is. The last time we saw Indiana Jones was 2008. He was he was in the 50s, in the atomic age. And we watched him see a mushroom cloud. He faced the Russians and the Red Scare and the commie bastards that he had to be fought back, those commie bastards. And in the end, he married Marion and walked off into the light, off on another adventure, being a husband. So we find ourselves 10 years later. 10 more years, folks. Do you really want to see an Indiana Jones movie set in the 1960s? I don't. I really don't. Because the Indiana Jones of my imagination, that spark, is in the late 30s, early 40s, when the Earth still had places that people didn't know. Not everything was mapped. Temples could be hidden in the jungle. Treasure was still out there. Fortune and glory, kid. Fortune and glory. By the 1960s, Robert Ripley had made a Sunday paper joke out of believe it or not. There are tribes that still shrink heads, believe it or not. Flower power, the Beatles, John F. Kennedy's assassination, Vietnam. This is not the backdrop for an Indiana Jones movie. You got to take him so far out of the civilization. Do you really want to see Indiana Jones talking to a guy with a Beatles haircut? Which way did they go? Oh, down the alley, me love. That's right. Oh, please. No. He's too old. Harrison Ford is too old to be Indiana Jones because A, he's too old, and B, fitting the timeline to his age is going to suck. Oh, and I'm sure, listen, I'm a writer. If somebody came to me and said, we're going to pay you to quit your job, you'll be a full-time writer, and here's what you need to do. You need to write a script where it's Indiana Jones in the 60s. I would take the job. I'm not stupid. I would come up with a story. I would come up with a plot device. No doubt. I have no doubt they're going to do it, and they're going to do it on a big scale. I get it. I totally get it. But for me, Indiana Jones is desert. It's lost objects and the promise of something just over the next dune. You see this watch? $10 from any vendor in the street, but I take it. I bury it in the sand for 1,000 years. It becomes priceless like the Ark. Strawberry alarm clock doesn't have the same ring to it, if you'll pardon the pun. So I think the only way The only way it's going to be successful, and this pains me to say, because for my generation, Harrison Ford was the hero, because Mark Hamill's movie career stalled. And instead, Harrison Ford became the big star. So I watched him all through the 80s and 90s. Mosquito Coast, Witness. What's that one he made where his wife disappears? I can't think of the name of it. Somebody's yelling it at the radio right now. Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, Working Girl. Harrison Ford movies were an event. The first time I remember Harrison Ford faltering was K-19, The Widowmaker. Him and Liam Neeson, the movie came out and it bombed. I'm like, wait a minute. Harrison Ford's the biggest movie star in the world. What's happening? Oh, people like the new people. They like Will Smith. They do? Over Harrison Ford? Damn, I'm old. So it pains me to say that if you're going to make an Indiana Jones movie, the only way to do it is to either kill him or have it open with Harrison Ford talking about the good old days and somebody else takes over. You know? Bradley Cooper, Chris Pratt, somebody else. Some flavor of the week takes over and becomes Indiana Jones. Like the way they do with James Bond. Somebody just takes over. Batman, somebody just takes over. The thing is that we've always held Indiana Jones higher in our minds because it's one actor, one director, one producer, and we've run the clock out. And then nobody is sadder than me. I get no thrill out of saying, please don't make another Indiana Jones movie. Because I want a good one no matter what. I love Indiana Jones, man. I love the character, the sound effects, the locale, the objects, the mystique, the set pieces, the music. John Williams' music is better than Star Wars. So nobody's pulling more for an Indiana Jones movie to be successful than me. But the cynic, the guy who's been burned, knows better. We're going to get a 1960s Indiana Jones. And who knows, maybe he's so old, they're going to push it into the 1970s. Think about that. A 1970s era Indiana Jones movie. Like, is that crazy or what? But it's not out of the realm of possibility. I don't know what they're going to do with Mutt. They're going to write him out somehow. Because Shia LaBeouf's a joke at this point. But just think about this. Indiana Jones gets the call. Something's happened at the Smithsonian, and he's got to fly out there. So he gets on the back of there's a new actor playing Mutt. I don't know who it is. Doesn't matter. It's Leonardo DiCaprio in a cameo. He gets on the back of the motorcycle, and as he takes him to the airport, they drive by the movie theater on Hollywood Boulevard, and they're playing Star Wars. Is that the most ridiculous thing you've ever heard of? But it's not out of the realm of possibility, folks. The last movie opened with Indiana Jones in a trunk listening to Elvis Presley. Set the time period, didn't it? But it also was like, oh, this isn't him in a bar in Morocco, listening to some torch singer singing another language while he makes the trade or gets the map. It's not like that. They went out of their way in Crystal Skull to beat him up. And I didn't dig it. So I finished my water here. I've got nothing to pour out for my homie, Indiana Jones. But he's pretty much dead. And it pains me to say that. I can't see them launching a big toy line again after the last one fizzled. So we're not going to get those toys. Disney will do a few things. They do. Not every movie gets a mega toy line. They get a few items. There'll be a hat. There'll be a jacket. There'll be a plush of some animal that appears for 2 seconds in the movie. And there'll be a lot of vinylmation, Mickey Mouse painted as all the Indiana Jones characters. And we'll get a lackluster, half-ass movie to anchor it all, where Indiana Jones has to fight the gas shortage or rescue the Iranian hostages, and he bumps into both Jimmy Carter and Ronald Reagan. And our collective groans are loud enough to power a small village if you could turn it into energy. Seriously? Okay, and you know what? Here's the thing. Final thought. I'm Jerry Springer with a final thought. If Indiana Jones can somehow be pushed all the way up to the release of 1977's Star Wars, then why couldn't he get pushed 4 more years to the release of Raiders of the Lost Ark? How stupid is that? What time frame? He's supposed to be in the 30s and 40s. It's not my fault Harrison Ford got old. That's what time does. Time's a bitch. Here I'm sitting. How the hell did I get to be 44? Who am I yelling at? There's nobody here. Even the spider left me. But hey, the good news is, if I'm wrong, then the worst thing is we get a great movie out of these folks. Maybe they got one in them. I don't know. Maybe they got one more in them before they pass the torch. The proof will be at your cinema. And I'll be there sitting right next to you, raising the glass, going, let's, for one moment, one shining moment when the credits start, the movie's going to be perfect. And what unspools on the screen for the 2 hours after that is anybody's guess. And the critics will have their say, and the fans will have their say, and we'll meet somewhere in the middle. God bless them. Fortune and glory, kid. Fortune and glory. Thanks for tuning in. I am Jeff Tucker. I am the voice, and the show is 91 Reasons.
Thanks for listening to 91 Reasons. Please subscribe and leave a review on iTunes. Find us on Facebook. Is anyone even still listening?
The situation is totally unacceptable.
Well, gentlemen, I guess that just about wraps it up.
Where is the Ark?
I thought we'd settled that. The Ark is somewhere very safe.
From whom?
The Ark is a source of unspeakable power, and it has to be researched.
And it will be, I assure you, Dr. Brody, Dr. Jones. We have top men working on it right now.
Who?
Top men.